What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Excuse me. So this morning I was lounging and I was like, what do I want to do today? And came up with this video. Before I get into the video, I want to say that I did reach out to Chinaman and I told him, hey, I was thinking about doing this video, and he was like, go ahead. So Chinaman from Hoover, aka Damion Porter. I'll go ahead and put the link up. Oh, it's gonna be probably right there. Put the link up to his channel. He's got a great channel. Those of you that like or want to know more about High Desert State Prison here in California, the prison that I feel is the wildest prison in California. He's got a lot of stories about High Desert, different factions going to war, all kinds of stuff over there. Now, a few weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, Damion was on Cam Capone News. Shout out to Cam Capone News, and that video did big numbers, over 60,000 on that interview, which is great. When he did it, when Damion did that and had it recorded, and when he was done, he got at me and was like, hey, just so you know, heads up, I talked about you and our fight, because me and Damion we had a fight in YA. And he's like, I talked about the fight. And it always cracks me up when Damion talks about the fight, because it's a lot different. His version is different than what really happened, but what it was is because, well, one of the reasons was, you know what, he talks about it, and he talks about, you know, we were cool. And, you know, I had no animosity towards him. We were cool. I was actually going to fight somebody else as soon as we got back from the chow hall. But Damion had grabbed the milk off my tray. I told him put it back. And, you know, when he didn't, I said, listen, I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to get off on you. And, you know, did the countdown. He thought I was bullshitting. I hit him. Boom. And, you know, he was dazed. But when I hit him, I followed it up with a whole lot of other ones, because it was and is humongous. I was not going to let him get his feet under him. But anyway, so that happened. So he talked about it the way he remembers. And he admitted, he said, you know, I was dazed. There was nothing he could do. And so he talked about that. But this video has to do with another part of that video. In that video, he's telling Cam about a riot that he had where it was the Northern Raza and the Bloods were together against the Crips, and that this riot took place on Nipomo. And that was the dorm me and Damion were on, right? It was the roughest dorm in Paso. Moro was probably number 2, and then Cayucas. Of course, dudes in Cayucas would say different, but before 1992, between 90 and 92, Cayucas wasn't doing nothing. We actually almost dropped them leva in 91, the whole compa. Another story, I told it before, I believe. But anyways, I wanted to clear that up. You know, Damion just turned 50 a couple days ago, so, you know, his memory might be gone. I'll be 50 in a few weeks. China, I know you're gonna watch this video. You're already 50, big dog. I think you forgot a few things. But anyways, so this is just to clarify. And Bolo from Swan, you remember this riot, and you know, and I know why you remember it, but we'll get to it in a second. Prior to 1992, Raza from Northern California were never, ever en masse sent to Southern California. They made a mistake a few times and sent some. They sent them to Nellis once, I believe in 1988 or 89. I believe it was 88 though. Wolfie from Florence wound up catching a case, hitting one of them in the head with a weight. But in 1992, there was a new director assigned to the California Youth Authority. and he saw that the raza from Southern California were sent to every single YA facility, regardless of location. They went to every single one of them. But the raza from Northern California were always kept in Northern California. And he said, nope, we're changing that policy. We're going to start sending Northerners everywhere and treating them the same as the Southerners. And so the first place, because they started, you know, from the top to the bottom, Paso was going to be the first place. And then they sent some to Ventura. Ventura. I think only a couple of them. And then they sent them to Nellis. And then they tried YTS. That didn't work at all. And it really didn't work well in Paso. And that's why I was like, you know what, let me put in my 2 cents. In May of 1992, the first bus of raza from Northern California hit Paso. There was a riot with them in their compa, in their unit that day. There was another riot the next day. The next week, I think they brought another bus load. There were several riots. Now, the orientation over there was a 270 building, right? And it was cut in half. So on one side, you had the fish tank, which is Arroyo. The other half, you had Pismo. Those were all cell living. Prior to them coming, we had been told, I've done, you guys can go and see my YA stories. Those that don't know, YA was one of the most treacherous places you could do time. All staff were asking us was, hey, just don't, like, in the school area, teachers were saying, look, we know you guys are going to get off on these guys. All we ask is that you don't use any desks. Use whatever you want to use, but don't use any fucking desks. That's all they gave a fuck about. The CO, like not COs, the cops, everybody was like, we know. Even the blacks were telling the raza from Southern California, hey, we don't even want them here. You know, hey, we'll even jump in. And we were like, nah. And the way Paso's shut down now, so I can say it. The way visiting was, people can come to visit and have a handball in their hand, their visitor, like, you know, your brother, cousin, whatever, and just toss it right over the wall. And when we come out of visiting, we could pick up the handball. And I remember very, very clearly when they were talking about they were going to bring the raza from Northern California to Paso, there was a lot of talk of throwing guns over. Swear to God. Homies were like, I'm making, that's how YA was, eh? Vatos were like, I'm going to fucking make history and I'm going to fucking just blast them. Like, they wanted guns and we'll just hide them in the fucking dorm. As soon as they come in, we're just going to start shooting them. And that didn't, people were like, that's too much, fool. And so it was like, okay, let's wait till they get here and see what's up, and then we'll go from there, right? So, like I said, they came, and because of how many incidents happened as soon as they got there, they brought 18 of them. That I remember, the first bus was 8, I believe, and the second was 10, or the first was 10 and the second was 8. But I remember 18 was the number that we were told. They moved them from Arroyo to Pismo. Again, cell living. At no point in time ever, after they arrived there, when me and Chinaman were in Paso, at no time were any raza from Northern California housed in any dorm. It was impossible. There's no, as soon as they would have went in, the same way they were doing the raza from Southern California and Preston back in 90, 89, 80, you know, the staff would they would send raza from Southern California up there. The staff would be like, hey, wait in the day room. We're going to go get your bunk ready. They'd go in the dorm and tell the Northerners, hey, it's about 5 of them out there. They'd come out strapped. They were whacking the vatos from Southern California. The same thing would have happened. That's just the Juras wouldn't have helped out. But if they would have brought them in, everybody would have been waiting and it would have gone down. And the administration knew that, so they put them over there. So the riot that Damion is talking about, there was a riot. There was a riot between the Southern raza and the Bloods against the Crips. And I think it happened that way because prior to that, we had 2 riots in one day, right? And I talked about it. We only got off on my dorm, Napomo. We only got off on our dorm because across from us in Cayucas, some East Coast Crips jumped a dude from Florencia, and we did not like the dude. His own homeboys from Florence did not like him. That wasn't the point. He got jumped, and nobody in Cayucas jumped. That's the reason why we were thinking about dropping that Compa Leva, right? What happened was when they lined up at the same time as us on the other side of the quad, right? So we're coming out and we saw it and we're like, what the fuck? And they sent us back in. They, did their thing. Then we came out. We had a junta that night. We had a meeting. The guys that were in charge of the dorm, Napomo at the time, it was one dude from 18 and another dude from South Los, right? It was determined that was unacceptable. There was only 15. No. There was 13. If I remember right, there was 13 raza from Southern California and 3 whites on that dorm. The rest, 75-man dorm, the rest were blacks. Back then, it's not like it is now. There weren't a lot of Bloods back then. LA was Crip City as far as blacks, right? It wasn't until after Death Row and Tupac and all that made being a Blood like popular. So there was only a handful of blacks. I remember a couple from VNG, from Villains, from Pueblos, PDL. Like, I remember the dudes clearly, right? But anyways, they were smart. They saw the junta, and the Bloods approached the homie from South Los and said, hey, look, we know you guys want to get off over that incident. It didn't have nothing to do with Bloods. We don't want to have nothing. We don't have beef with you. We ain't tripping. And the homie's like, cool, just stay out of the way. Of course, the next day when the riot was supposed to jump off, the Woods don't know the difference between a Crip and a Blood. And the worst thing they could do, they took off on the shot caller for the Bloods. He was from Pueblos. He spun around to get off, and so did the rest of the Bloods. But that time they did try to stay out of it. They were like, you guys get down with the Crips. We ain't tripping. The riot where Damion's talking about, that one, it did go down where the Southerners and the Bloods rushed the Crips. Again, Bolo from Swan asked the homies, hey, is it cool if I kick it off? The raza from Southern California were like, nah, we have to kick it off. Bolo says, okay. Door opens for movement. That's when it's supposed to kick off, when we all lined up. When they say move out, that was a cue for everybody to get off. Everybody's going outside, and Bolo was not having it. See, Bolo had gotten sent to Cayucas. There were no Bloods over there. I only remember 2 times a Blood being sent over there. B-Dog from PDL, he went over there. He put a bowl of ramens in the microwave for 30 minutes. When that bell rang, he got his soup out. 30 minutes in the microwave. He got his soup out, threw it in Hog from Insane's face, and then got off on him. Hog had noodles stuck to his face. It was crazy. Him and then Swan, Bolo from Swan went. I think, if I remember right, Bolo, if you're in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they rushed fucking Bolo immediately. I don't remember if it was him or that dude from SOS, but I remember somebody, and I remember Bolo's name being mentioned. But anyways, Bolo was by himself, got sent over there. The Crips jumped on him. So that's one of the reasons why he asked to kick that riot off. Plus, he really wanted to get, there was 2 dudes from Main Street. I think the dude that he rushed was Termite from Main Street. And so when the movement was going out, remember, Bolo asked and was told no. Everybody's moving out, and Bolo did not give a fuck. Bolo rushed the old boy from Main Street, boop, boop, and they got into it. Once they did, everybody rushed. The whole dorm started getting into it. Chinaman says he had 5 dudes on him. I don't know if he had 5 on him or not. You know, he's 50. I'm gonna fucking keep fucking with you, Damion. Hey, he's 50. Who knows? But the only reason why I say I don't know if he had 5 on him is because the Raza's numbers were we were always under 20 in that dorm, and I think it's because that was the wildest dorm that they try to keep the Mexicans numbers down. Plus, that was an era, you know, people say, you know, that the Mexicans are always the deepest, especially the ones from Southern California. Those of us that were doing time back then, if we're honest, you know the truth. Under 20 people, under 20 Mexicans on the dorm, 75-man dorm, and there's always only going to be 1 or 2 white dudes. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was back then. But anyways, this is not to discredit Damion, but it is to make sure that when we tell these stories, these histories of the atrocities and just how fucked up why it was, that we're trying to be as accurate as possible. Again, I told Damion before I did this earlier, I said, hey, I'm gonna do this. You know, you talked about this riot on Camp Capone. I said, I'm gonna do this video. Feel free to do a reaction to it. Clarify where you think I was wrong. You know, it was a long time ago. We were fucking badass kids on a mission to be a whole lot worse. Unfortunately, a lot of us that were there during that time were very successful at becoming worse. Fortunately, I'm glad to see Damion out. Damion doing well. I'm glad that I'm out. But it was a very wild time, man. So that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.